Coach Mike here with Lockdown Defense, breaking down Gary Payton, 9-time All-NBA Defensive First Team member, 4th in total steals, and the only point guard to ever win Defensive Player of the Year. So let's break down what made Gary Payton one of the best defenders to ever play the game.
The best part of basketball for me is getting out there, guarding somebody, and making them fear me.
One of the first things you notice is his defensive stance and how that leads to many of his steal attempts. As you can see here, his defensive stance has a wide base, his feet are far apart, his shoulders lead, and his back is almost parallel with the ground. This is a similar stance to Kobe Bryant, Patrick Beverley, and even Michael Jordan. In watching each of these steals, you'll see how similar they really are, because this defensive stance puts your reach right at the opponent's dribbling pocket, a technique that allowed Gary Payton to get steal attempts against anyone in the NBA. The next thing that jumps out is how physical he was with his hands, something that you wouldn't see today with the hand-checking rules. However, there is one thing that could be transferred over. Instead of going for poke steals, Gary Payton would leave his hand there until he got the steal. Simply put, he would always try and have his hand constantly in the opponent's dribbling pocket. This isn't an easy technique, but his defensive stance and lateral quickness made it a capable one for Gary Payton. And yet, the majority of the time, Gary Payton was a between-the-basket defender instead of a hip-to-hip one. So it's surprising, since every player that we've talked about previously who uses that defensive stance prefers to be hip-to-hip with their opponent, riding their hip, making them change direction, and that's when they get their steal attempt. But Gary Payton wasn't like any of these players. If anything, he was like Kawhi Leonard, who I broke down previously, who preferred to be between the basket than hip to hip. As you can see in this example, Gary Payton isn't putting a tremendous amount of ball pressure. He's just making sure he stays between his man and the basket. This is a concept that allows you not to give up anything easy. Gary Payton could live with the pull-up jumper from mid-range. What he couldn't live with was giving up layups, and that's why he preferred to stay between the basket. The last quick point is Gary Payton, even though he was a point guard, oftentimes had the guard players that wanted to post him up, especially when he went against the Bulls and they had Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen constantly posting him up. Iguodala was in the same boat and played the same post defense as Payton. You can see he has a wide base and angles his body towards the opponent. Payton does the same thing here. You can see he's guarding a much bigger opponent, but angles his body and uses a wide base to get all the leverage he can, which allowed him to survive against the Bulls no matter who posted him up. So now I think we've realized why Gary Payton was nicknamed the Glove, and why he's in the conversation as one of the best defenders to ever play the game.